get stuck in. So, welcome back to episode 2 of Creating a Cutscene, and episode 22, is it? 23, oh my goodness. So that's 23 days now, non-stop, live streaming this game creation. And just 1 or 2 hours a day. We're making some good progress, so essentially we've done about 40 hours of development so far, with plenty of little periods of planning and non-coding. So I think we're making good progress. Let's turn down the music a little bit more. Thank you, Young Carts in the house. Check him out. Young Carts, YUNGKARTZ. So we were yesterday working on the cutscenes. Let's see where we were at. So we've done a couple of things. We created this cutscene scene, and the cutscene scene has some cinema bars. It has an animation player, and it has a few bits and bobs just for laying text out on the screen. We've got a few areas we can put text in. So we've got a narration text which we're going to start using today, and let's just give it a quick try and see where we're at. So we had to hide this control. If you watched yesterday's show, then you'll know that control node is essentially something you click on, and because in our main game we show this over everything, the cutscene overrides the lot. What happens when you click control is well, nothing. It stops you. In fact, we'll just demonstrate that real quick. Because I've got a control node over the top, can't click on anything. Nothing happens. So we have to hide the control node, and when we start the cutscene, we show it. So we've made our AI our trigger for the cutscene right now. So we click that, pauses everything. We go into the cutscene, and we left click to come out of the cutscene, or it finishes itself, and we're back in the game. So all good stuff. So presumably we will be doing, game setup while the cutscene's playing. We'll be doing things behind. We'll be moving the player to the new location, maybe loading up a new scene. There's all sorts of things we could do whilst that cutscene's visible. So let me just move the screen here because it's annoying me. There we go. Oh, there we go. Right. So I hope you can see everything okay. So what we're going to do first is we need to start bringing in our... we've got a couple of things. We've got the background rectangle, which is currently transparent. We've got an image in the background, which is currently transparent. So we're going to create a few functions just to utilize these. So I haven't worked out quite what I fancy using yet, but we're going to just create some basic utility functions here. We're going to have fade, so what should we call it? Fade in black, right? So whatever's in the background, we are going to fade in this black rectangle. So we're going to make sure our background rectangle is set to a color of black. So color, oops. Ooh, let's have a look. Color, property.color. Okay, I've not done this yet, so it should be fairly straightforward. So we want to get a link to our background rec. So background, there it is, control background rect dot color. And now we need to fade that in. Now we could create an animation to do it. I wonder how many animations an animation player can manage at the same time. I'm not sure. So a question I do not know the answer to. Let's just give it a try and see if we can create another animation for our color. So, okay, so first of all, we're going to set the color to black, right? Fade in black. So we're going to set it to a color, and black will be, so we've got RGB and alpha being our transparency. So RGB, so 0, 0, 0, and 0, basically. So it's black and it's transparent. So that's the first thing we do. I'll just put a little note in there. Set background rectangle to black and transparent. Of course, we can do another one later called fade in white, and do 1, 1, 1, 0. Right? So now we've got to modulate. We've got to change this alpha color slowly over time to full. So I'm going to try and create should I create an animation for it? I could just set a yield, might be easier. Let's Google it. Let's see what the recommended method is. Godot fade in color. It's too much simple question to answer, says someone. Oh yeah, I know. Right, using color values from color wheel. It's not what we want. Okay, well, you know what? Godot change color over time. Okay, how about Godot fade out sprite? Setting the opacity of an animated sprite. There you go. Aha! So remember I was talking in the last episode about having a tween object. Well, there we go. That's what we use the tween for. So let's add a tween in here. There we go. And now we can do something like this. Obviously, we're changing this object here. We're gonna, so tween is gonna move us between two. It's gonna interpolate between two values by adjusting the modulate. So we are changing this here, modulate, and we want to change this value here from transparent to bright. So it's the other way. So we're going from 0. Oops, you know what? That's white, right? So we're going from 0, 0, 0 to 0, 0, 0, 1. This is the steps over time, presumably. Ease in. I think that's it. That should be all we need to do. Let's try it out. Let's try it out. So it's not going to be a great example. I'm going to use fade to white first of all. It'll be easier to see. So I'll just change this one. Put in fade to white. Fade in white. So we set the background color to white. And again, we're going to go from white transparent to white opaque. All right, there we go. Fade in white. And now in our script, so let's open up our game script. Switch to coding view. And we are going to, here's our cutscene. So we start the cutscene here. And we're going to create a cutscene dot fade in white. Let's see what happens. Nothing. Pretty good. Okay. Now, what have we done wrong there? Well, first of all, we just copied something off someone else, so who knows whether that's actually a working example or not. We didn't get any errors. I don't see any problem with it. Let's just set our background rectangle to be a bit more colorful, shall we? Let's set it to white. And now let's see what we get when we run it. Just so we've got a better idea of what's going on. Let's switch back to this scene here. Okay. No, not seeing it at all at the moment, are we? Why do we think that is? let's, if we switch to the game, actually not seeing it at all here, which I'm surprised by. Ah, there we go. So we didn't save our scene? Surely not. Oh, okay, well that seems to be okay. So back into our cutscene, we hide the control, we hit play, hit our button. No white. So what it seems to be doing here is literally setting it to transparent, and then the transition isn't happening. So I'd wager if we change this to opaque at the beginning here, then and press play, we'll get a white screen suddenly. Yep, and it doesn't fade out. Pretty cool, but we want it to fade into white, don't we? So let's find out what's going wrong there. Oh, we finished. We don't need those in anymore. We finished. We started. There we go. So what's up with our tween? I think we need a good example of how to use a tween. So let's have a look at tween. Modulate. Godot. Find ourselves a good example. Well, that was the #1 example, apparently. Something I've looked at before, apparently. Tween 2. Do tweens. This is more sort of discussion on how it should work rather than a tutorial. Let's have a look at Kids Can Code Godot recipes. So yeah, I mean, it's doing a lerp, right? We're lerping the alpha. Lerp being linear interpolation. It's just showing us how to do interpolation. We could do that, but I mean, we've got a tween for a reason, right? Let's use it. Let's just look at the old Godot documentation here. If I can find it. Where is it? Godot docs. And tween. In fact, actually, we want to look at linear. Oh, I can't spell it. Linear. Interpolate. There we go. Interpolation. Okay, maybe we do want to look at the tween node. And tween. Here we go. Right. Well, here's a nice example. Ah, do we have to put tween start in? That might help. Right, okay. Let's put in a tween start. Tween start. Tween start. Oh, we need a capital T in there. No, wait a minute. We need $. There we go. So obviously we're linking to the node tween. Okay, so now we're going to have to tweak this again because remember we changed it to go from, we removed the opacity from it. Put the opacity back in. And here we go again. Oh, wait, we need to hide the control again. Otherwise we won't see anything. Here we go. Nope. Still nothing. Fabulous. Okay. Where's the tween start command? Starts the tween. You can define animations before and after this. Oh, you know what? I think tweens probably needed to be used in the process. When you linear interpolate a property, what you're doing is you're just moving it slightly. So it's going, it's changing this value from 0 to probably 0. I don't even know if that's even a valid. I'm thinking it needs to be done every process round. So we want to be doing it like every second or something, every millisecond. So you see that sort of slow transition. But our step is wrong. It needs to be something smaller than 1, right? Just try it one more time. No, yeah, so it's something that's part of the process. So that's not going to work unless we just keep calling in fade in white, right? So I think the easiest thing to do would be to add an animation. So let's see if we can play multiple animations from the same animation player. Nope, I don't think that's going to work either, because you've got a current animation. So we're going to have to create another animation player. So let's do this. So we'll call this, rename this color animation player. We'll make it responsible for our background color animations. So now we can create a new animation. We'll call it fade in black. We are going to add a new track. In fact, we don't even need to do that, do we? We just need to click on what we want to change, so background rectangle. And nope, we do need to hit add track. So add property track for background rectangle. It's our color rect. It's our color, I think. Oh, is it? It might be. So no, I think it's modulate actually, isn't it? Either way, so we're going to change modulate. So we're going to fade into white. So we're going to set it to transparent. Let's make sure we can see it. Set it to transparent. Save a key value there. So we've inserted a key. We're saying it's transparent here, and then a second later, it's going to be opaque, and then add another key. All right, there we go. You can see that transition. That's cool. We can delete this one. Don't need it. Bin. Okay, so that should work. So if I hit play here, you can see it's fading in. It's quite a long fade in. I think we might reduce that to half a second. We need to change that to half a second. Try it again. Yeah, that's more like it. Slick. So that is an animation called fade in black. So we can just add that to our script, right? The same way we've done our cutscenes here. We've got our animation player, and we can also play it backwards as well. We'll get rid of this tween. Maybe that's why I had a tween the last one as well, and found I didn't actually need it. So fade in black is going to be color animation player dot. Oh no, is it play? Yep. Fade in black. There it is. Super. Right, and oh, it's giving me an error. No, it's not. There we go. Right, and we'll do another one here. I don't even know if we need to set the background color here like this, but can't do any harm. Actually, yes, we do want to set it, because this one's set into black and this was set into white, so that's good. So actually, it doesn't matter whether you've got fade in black or not. This is just fade in, right? So we could just call that fade in. Super, and we could use that for both black and white. Super, okay, great. That's going to work, right? How can it fail? Unless, of course, we don't hide our control again. Let's try that. All right, black rectangles and fade into white. No! Now what? Let's have a look at our script. Color animation player. Didn't give us any errors. Let's check our animation. Fade in. Oh, wait, do we have to do we have to have it set to the beginning for it to work properly? That's not going to work at all. I need to go back and hide the controller again. There we go. Okay. No, still not working. I'm not having much luck today. Okay. So why would that not work? Background rectangle. We fade it in and we fade it out. Could it be that it doesn't want to show it over everything else? No, it couldn't be. Pretty sure that's not possible. Because you can see it here and it's over everything else, right? Could it be that we shouldn't be setting our opacity here? We should just let the animation player do it? I'm not sure that's a good idea, but we'll try it. Oh, blimey. It would. Why would that be? Anyway, either way, right? And now we can fade out when we end the cutscene, right? So we can do 2 of these, paste it in, and now we're just going to play it backwards, backwards, and backwards, and we can just have, you know what? All we just need is fade out, fade out. Actually, we need to say specifically. We only need one function for this, right? And it's color as well. We're fading out the color because we're going to be fading out the image as well if we want. So we don't need to set the color here. All we need is just to play the fade in backwards. Oh, and one last thing. We need to add that fade out color to our end cutscene script, right? Okay. So let's try that, shall we? So cutscene starts. Ooh, and cutscene ends. I think we're getting somewhere here, guys. This is looking good. Oh, isn't it nice when you get something working, you can just sit there watching it. Cutscene's going to be better than the rest of this. So I do like working on a bit of juice. Game juice is much more satisfying. Okay, so what next? So we need our text to be faded in. So how are we going to do that? We're going to have to create a text controller for that. So we don't need to necessarily fade that in at this point. What about our click to skip? Just appears. I'm not really too fussed about that. Yeah, it's fine. Anything else within our element? No, I think we're good. Right, okay, so next up, we want to create some utility functions for fading in images. So we've got fade in black, we've got fade in white, we've got fade out color. So we're going to have fade in, func, fade in image, right? And then pass in a texture, I think it is, right? How do we do this again? Is it texture image? No, wow, both reserved. Let's look at our image rect. What is this? This is a texture resource. Yeah, so it is a texture. Okay, so we're going to pass in a texture into this. We'll call it image texture. And so pass in texture to fade in. And it's going to be exactly the same as our fade in here, except we're going to need a different animation player because, well, this animation player seems to be more focused on, we might want to combine it, is what I mean, with image transitions. So we want to allow these two to play alongside each other. So having a dedicated animation player for our image rect seems like a good idea. Animation player, bring it down here, and we're going to rename it image animation player. Super duper. We could do all sorts of things with this, right? We could have swooping images, spinny stuff, whatever we think. So we're going to create a new animation, fade in, and set a track for our image. So it will be modulate again. Create. And we're already transparent. So again, we'll set it to 0.5 for a snappy fade in. Now, wouldn't it be nice if we could actually specify, if we were doing this programmatically, we could specify how long it takes to fade in. So we could do a slow transition. That would be a lot more useful. But for now, for speed of use and easy scripting, just have these quick methods. So we're going to change that to opaque. Oh, we've got a crappy picture of a laptop. And there we go. Create our fade in animation. So now let's call that in this function. So it's going to be a lot like this. It's going to be image animation player. And that's it. So it'd be good if we spell image right. So actually, it's not it, because we need to set the image that we want to load. So there might be quite a lot more to do here. We're probably going to need some sort of cutscene folder for images. What have we got at the moment in our assets? So down here, we have got assets, backgrounds, original, spectrum. Oh, yeah, that's our spectrum analyzer. So we're going to add a new folder. We'll call it cutscene imagery. It really is, it's more like backgrounds, but it's not. So I'm just going to call it cutscene images, right? So we'll always be loading images from that folder. So how do we load a cutscene image? Well, first of all, let's just grab a random image off the internet. What should we get? For our cutscene, we'll get some. We'll get a picture of Jupiter, stuff like that. Let's see. Let's get something cinematic. Let's get an artist's impression of Jupiter's surface. Cool. Wow. That's nuts. What is that? It's the atmosphere. I mean, I didn't know Jupiter even had a surface. I thought it was just gas. That's cool. How big's that? 1080p. We're having it. Let's have it. It's probably copyrighted, so we won't be committing this. Oh. Ah. Yeah. Save that. All right. And we're going to stick this into our folder. I've now got a library for Godot, so I don't have to fiddle around trying to find my folders anymore. There we go. Assets, cutscene images. Rather than calling it Jupiter, we'll just call it test, or even delete me. We know we need to get rid of it later on. All right, so delete me has been imported. We can see it now. There it is. So we're going to use this function. So I'm going to set it up as I'll set it up because remember we want to script our cutscenes. So we've got start cutscene, got fade in white. Now what we probably want to do is some sort of yield function, right, before we fade in the image, and the image is going to be called delete me. .jpg. Okay. So a yield is where we wait for the previous thing to finish. I'm not sure how that works. I'm just going to check. Yield Godot. It's not really what I'm after. Create explosion, yield self-exploded, Q3. So what we're trying to do then is we want to yield until this fade in white is finished, for example, or we want to yield until the previous thing's finished. I have done this before. I just want to see how I did it because it kind of worked quite well. So in this one here, we can see we're walking around, and obviously I'm using a yield
Nearly.
to
What
wait
the hell's going on?
for this
Where
audio
are we?
to finish.
What the fuck just happened?
So if we didn't yield, they just all talk over each other, right? So let's have a look at our scripts. And it's scene controller. So here we go. Right, so I'm setting up a signal in my player object to say finish speaking. So I'm actually setting up a signal and then waiting for it to say it's done. So we're going to have to do a similar thing. So let's look at our player object here. And you can see we set up these signals. So probably going to need to do something very similar. So let's do that as well. So our cutscene is going to have a number of signals. We are going to have finished color fading, just color fade, right? We're going to have finished image fade, and I'll do for now, right? So if we change any color fade, we're going to generate a signal. Again, don't know what to do next, so let's look at what we did previously. So we must have created a signal here somewhere. For speak, is it say? Here we go. Emit signal. Ah, isn't that great? So easy, so simple. Right. This is what I was saying a few episodes ago, is that I need to get a hang of how these work. How do we emit signals? You can even see that, look, the talking is yielding. It's creating a timer based on the time it took for that audio to play. Something we're going to have to probably do in our cutscene as well, because we want to allow something to play before we start the next bit of the cutscene. So, but anyway, so this emit is good. What's name? Name. Oh, it's the name of the object, right? So in this case, it was Julian. It could have been Neil. It could have been Callum. So, all right. Okay. So what we're going to do in this case, probably just use self, right? So it's just cutscene. So, oh, I'm in the wrong script here. I want to be here. I want to be looking at the cutscene script. Here we go. Right. So when we fade in to black, we're going to generate a signal. Finished. Color fade. Who's it? It might be 3 words. Oh, if I put it in the wrong place, I must have done. Yeah, it doesn't go there. It goes in cutscene. Just get rid of these. So finished color fade is what we used. So finished color fade, self, and speaking. Let's just see how we used it again. I'm not sure what. So let's just look at the help for yield. Yield. Oops. yield. Am I spelling that right? So Y-E-L-D. Yeah, there we go. Right, so the first thing it passes is an object. Stops the function execution and returns to the current suspended state to the calling function. Oh, actually, these guys aren't using, only using two parameters. I'm only using 2 parameters. Oh, you know what? I'm really getting confused here. I'm looking at the wrong thing. It's emit signal. That's what I meant to look at. Emit signal. Right. So emit signal passes in, emits a given signal. This method supports a variable number of arguments. The parameter passes comma separate. Okay, so that's the signal, and then it passes in whatever variables you want. Anything we want. Well, happy days. So we don't actually need any of these. We certainly don't need speaking. Because the actual signal itself is color fade, right? We shall just do that. Oops. Okay, so that's color fade. That's color fade. That's color fade. And this is an image fade. All right. Super duper. So our cutscene will actually emit the signal when they're done. So if we go back to our script, we can now say, wait for the fade in to finish before we fade in the image, right? So that won't happen. So if we do that at the moment, that's not going to work at all because we haven't even finished this function yet. So I'll just put a try yield to signal here. And I'll just remind myself of what a yield looks like. So our yield would look something like this. Yield cutscene. So we're waiting for the cutscene to tell us finished color fade, right? But for now, I'm going to comment that out until we fix this. So fade in image. So let's look at our fade in function. So our fade in function needs to pass in an image texture, and then we need to load it up, right? So we got to load in our image, and then fade in the image. The other thing we want to do as well with this one, you guessed it, we want to fade out the image, and we don't need to pass in anything here because we know we should be already in a state where we need to just fade out. So all we need to do here is play this backwards, and the signal can stay. It's fine. We could always, so now I know we've got multiple parameters here. We could say out, so it's finished fading out. Or we could say in, finish fading in, and so on. I don't think we're actually using it at the moment, but if we need to check it, could be quite handy. Let's a fade in, and let's a fade out. Cool. All right. So now we're making our signal more useful. It's going to tell us that a color fade finished, and it's going to tell us the state of that color fade. I don't know even if we need to pass in an object because we're referencing the object anyway in our yields, right? So I think that's just a complete waste of time. I'll come back to it when we try it out because we're going to try it out once we get this fade in image working. So let's load an image. How do we load an image in Godot? Load image, load. GD script load. Load a resource from the file system located at path. Super. There we go. Look how easy that is. So what we probably want though is a little bit more information. Like, you know, it's not telling us what it returns. Does it return false if it can't find it? Oh yeah, there you go. The path must be a local path will just return null. So it's probably going to return null if it doesn't work. Should we check to see if the file exists first? I mean, it'd be nice if it gave us a little bit more information in the documents there. Let's check the documentation. Load. Searching. Stream texture. What's this? Stex file. Oh, cool. I guess that's so you can load textures while you're playing, like things like Overwatch, and use that sort of thing where you can see the textures are loading while you're playing it. Call of Duty and so on. Streamlines your play rather than loading every texture right from the start. Image texture. Texture based on an image. Happy days. Load. Load an image texture from a file path. Oh, we still don't get much. Why does it say error? Methods that return error return OK when no error occurred. Wow, I did not know that. Look at this. Okay, so let's try it out. So we are going to load our image in. You know what? I'm going to clear all these out. Got too many tabs open. So we just want cutscene and game script. Okay. So to load in our image, so I'm going to paste this little bit of coding because it's quite interesting. So we want to actually load image. How on earth do we do this? I guess we get a reference first of all to the image rect. There it is. Dot load image. No, just dot load. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then we pass in the resource. So what was the example we looked at earlier? I think it might have been in our help. Load. There it is. Oh, do we? Oh, maybe we don't need to reference. Maybe we actually just need to sort of load it and then set the texture. But wait, okay, hold on. Let's have a look back here again. This is an image texture. Okay, so what we've got to be careful not to get mixed up with here is that our texture rect has an image texture. So this allows us to create an image texture object and then load the image in, which you then assign to our texture rect. I suppose what I'm looking for here is just to see whether we can just load an image straight in to our texture rect without having to worry about another step in between. And it doesn't look like you can. Get texture, set texture. So no, so we need to define our texture first. So this is good though. We know we need to do, we need to set texture. So let's just spell out our pseudo code here so we know what we're doing. So this is all great. I'm just going to comment this out, come back to it one step at a time. So we need to load in our image into a image texture. And then we need to set our image rect to use our image texture. Right, so we need to do those two steps or we're going to exactly getting our pants in a twist. So we'll call it, we're going to set something here called var temp new image equals load, and then we're going to set the resource. So our resource will be, I think you can just type it in here, right? Usually works for me. Res. No, not today. So resource, you can actually see the script up here. So go to our cutscene images. There we go. There we go. And then we want to add our image texture to the end. Right. And now we set our image texture. So that's this one here. So it's image.rect set. Is it here? PQRST. No. Wow. Okay. We just saw it though, didn't we? Texture rect. Set texture value. Okay. I know it's got a setter, but what I'd normally do, I think, is you'd look at the image, you'd hover over this bit. It's called dot texture. So you'd just do dot texture equals new image. Right? What's the difference between using a setter or just setting it directly? Godot. Should I use setter? There you go. I don't know when to use them either. When should I use them? Here's the answer. This is why. It makes it so you can do other stuff whenever you set a value and control what the value is set to. The current game in making uses a setter function whenever the player scores a point. And all it does, besides setting the var, is emits a signal saying the score changed. That's a set get. Okay. So going to get an extra variable. If it's transitive value, you still need storing the data. Interesting. So I think if I get this right, I think what they're saying is rather than doing this, and I'm going to try this out and see if it works. I think they're suggesting we do it like this. We go that dot set texture, open brackets, and then pass in that. Right? So we never set a variable. We just, boom, set the texture and load the value straight in. Be good to try them both. So anyway, right. Should be good to go, right? We should be able to fade in our image. Will it work? Let's try it out. I need a little drum roll. Jupiter. Oh, we got Jupiter, but it does seem to have just appeared rather than faded in. I think it might be because our Jupiter image, yeah. So our image at the moment has no alpha, so we want to just set it to a faded out before we fade it in. Oop, and turn off our control. Here we go again. Should fade in there. I think it did. What do you think? Yeah, I think that faded in. But of course, it's fading in at the same time as the white. So this is where we need to try out our yield function, which we commented out. So let's go back into our game script. And yield. There we go. So we're going to wait until our color fade, and then we're going to fade in our new image. Here we go again. Yep, never gave us the... Oh, yep, that's weird. What's going on there then? I'm not sure what to make of that. Let's have a look at our script again. What's that? So we're yielding cutscene until we finish the color fade. I'm just going to print here. Print finished yield, right? Essentially, that should only happen when that finishes, right? Play. So as soon as our fade in happens, we should see it print out at the bottom here. Nope. Interesting. So we are getting this finished color fade though. The signal's still working, right? Oh, is it? I have no idea. Let's go back into our cutscene. Okay, so we play the fade in, and you emit finished image fade. Finished image fade. Finished image fade. I wonder if there's something else we need to do to set up a signal. Like I say, this is something I did a long time ago. So how can we test whether or not that's working or not? Up top, got our signals. And also, I wonder if our pause has got anything to do with it. I think the pause stops the yield from triggering. I don't think I'm going to get any more out of that project. So pause. Oh. Does cutscene need to be hit to process? Does our game script? Game script is set to process. Try that. Doubt that's it. Otherwise, how would anything work, right? Let's just put in our, because at the moment what's happening is our image is never fading out. So I'd like to see that working. So we're going to have fade out image. Have we done that yet? I think we have, right? And we need another yield, right? Finished image fade. Okay, let's try that. Don't get the image. Oh, I think we've crashed it. Finish yield, finish yield, finish yield. And crashed. Oh no. Okay. Super crash. Oh no, I just closed the wrong window. All right. I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to make a quick coffee, and I will be right back in a sec. And we're back. And what happened to the music? So, what did happen to the music? Seems to have given up on me completely. There it is. Okay. So we're trying to get yield to work. Let's look at a yield tutorial on a really basic level. Let's look at a Godot yield tutorial. It's not a video. We've got no errors. Okay, so what I'm gathering here is that the reason why nothing's happening is in our game script, the yield never finishes. But it does when we click, right? Our game script's an auto load, right? Yeah. Let's have a look. Godot, auto load, pause. Okay, we try this. So what this is saying is that we need to make sure singletons like this. Although why would this even work? If start cutscene, pause this script, then this wouldn't work, right? And why when we left click does the cutscene print out finished yield? I think at the moment, I'm just going to leave it at that. I want end cutscene, right? Oh, the end cutscene's automatic. Okay, yeah, the end cutscene's just triggered by the left click. That's a point. Look, our signals. Yeah, our signals shouldn't trigger until the animation player finishes, right? Anyway, look, I'm pretty sure we don't need self in here. For starters, take that out. Get rid of these passes. We don't need these in anymore. Okay, so let's go to our singleton, our game script, and in our onReady function, I'm going to paste this code in. So we're saying, don't pause this, by the way. Just try it. Might crash. So we've got no output yet. no output here. When we click, it finishes the yield. Why? Let's just remind ourselves of how cutscene works. So we start the cutscene, we pause the entire tree. Yeah, okay, so for me, that definitely means that the yield only completes once the tree is unpaused. So it's waiting for us to left click before the yield plays. So if we stop pausing, right? So if we don't pause this at all, will it work? Will we just get the finished yield? No, no difference. Look at that. It has one connection. So that's our animation finished connection. So we need these anyway, right? These emit signals are wrong, but we still want to get this working. Let's just look at our yield again. Yield, passing the object, so stops the function execution and returns the current suspended state to the calling function. From the caller, call GDScript state resume on the state to resume execution. This invalidates the state. Within the resume function, yield returns whatever was passed to the resume function call. So if passed an object and a signal, the execution is resumed when the object emits the given signal. So here's an example. Yield, countdown completed. Oh, maybe I'm doing this wrong. I'm just passing in an object, right? So in this case, what we're saying is when the countdown function completes, say it's completed. Okay, can I just do this then? This is I might just be overcomplicating this, right? So we're saying that's the example. So I'm saying that, right? But what's the word completed for? It's not like countdown prints anything out. The yielding function completed signal will be emitted automatically when the function returns. It can then therefore be used as the signal parameter of the yield method to resume. Oh, okay. So it's a inbuilt function completed. Okay, try that. Oops, not happy. Not of type object. Well, notice this example here, right? Countdown's not an object. So it's a different usage of yield. What am I looking at here? You can use yield to wait for a function to finish. But it does say object, right? Does the function need to be in scope? Oh my goodness. What a nightmare. So if I create a function here and we call it test and we print out wee, then instead of that, we put test. Will that work? So you're going to tell me that's not a function either. And not an object. No. Argument, first argument yield, not type object. Well, again, I think I need to do a bit more research into using this. Maybe do a few tutorials on it. But let's do at least the good news is clearly I'm not doing it right. The wonders of yielding. Cool. Okay. Look at that. Yin. So I was waiting for the tween to complete. This is basically what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to script like this, so. But we don't want to have all these like interpolations and links to. We want to make it easy for, so we can focus on the actual methods themselves. So we're basically we're definitely waiting for this object to emit this signal. So I don't see anything wrong with still don't see anything wrong with our code. I mean, this is obviously what we're doing there is completely wrong. Just gonna get rid of that for now. I don't see anything wrong with that. We're yielding to the cutscene object and waiting for the signal finished color fade to get emitted. So just go back to pure basics here. Get rid of our test function. Double check that we're spitting out our emit signal. Let's break down our signals to their most basic. Let's check to make sure that our emit signal is, our understanding is correct. Yeah, so you could just literally just emit signal, game over. So we're emitting the simplest of emissions. Okay, so we should emit fade in white, finished color fade, even though it hasn't finished. Yeah, this animation hasn't finished yet, but we don't mind. We can actually yield here, right? And then emit the signal once it's finished. It's kind of counterintuitive, but it's cool from this end because we're just waiting for that, waiting for something we know is going to come. So how do we, can we do a connect this to a signal on the other end? How do you do that? Maybe what I need to be searching for is creating custom signals. Godot. Did we look at this already? Signal, signal name. Emit the signal, signal name here. Do we need this connect? We didn't do that in the other project, right? Gonna have a quick peek. We've got any sort of connect here for our signals. So as our player, connect, yep. Scene controller, connect. Oh, we used to. I commented them all out. Look at that. So at some point, I was using connect. I was trying to connect signals for finished walking, finished action. But then it seemed that this just worked beautifully. Yield to object for the signal. And we'll go back to the player, name the signal, and then emit it. Finished walking, facing. Honestly, I'm really confused as to what could be going wrong with that. So yield, cutscene, finish color fade, print. We finished the color fade. Why would I need to left click to see that? And why is it now crashing every time I hit play? Oh jeez, I might have broken something. Play. Okay. Yep, so we've got nothing about output. We finished the color fade. And again. Finish the color fade. I'm just trying it again just to see. I mean, I'm just a bit worried that it's crashing a few times there. But no. So it's only finishing the yield when we click. And the click indicates us unpausing the game, right? We tried removing the on pause, and that didn't make any difference. So this was get tree paused, save, play. So now you should continue to hear the background noise, which you do. So it's nothing to do with our pausing. So we have got a process loop here. Is it something to do with our process loop? Wait, do we need to yield inside our process? Surely not. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's because it never goes back to that function. Oh, I think that's it, guys. Right. I think what we're doing here is we're constantly running the script, right, in process. So we're always looking for the left click. So what's happening here is it's saying, right, you know what, just wait until we get this signal. But it never calls Interact AI again. I think I'm going to have to load this one up one more time. Let's have a look. So,
Oreo,
we've got.
What the hell's going on? Where are we?
What the fuck just
You
happened?
can see the delay here.
Don't fucking
In the
know.
bottom
Oh
left
my
corner.
god, what's happened to your head?
So that's our yield. Yielding for 2.9 seconds, yielding
Oreo.
for 1 second.
What the?
So the yield is working, but is it in the main loop? That's what I want to know. So that's scene controller, start sequence. It's not. There's no process loop here. So it's just continuing this function once the yield's finished. So I think. Let's just see where start sequence is called. Search, find, start sequence. Find in files. Find. There we go. Player controls. Start sequence. If input button 2, get tree gets to yeah. So no, it's not like we're running this over again in the process loop. We just call it once. So again, another theory out the window. I wonder if this will crash again. Maybe it's just me loading the other game and then. No. Well, we've certainly got at the moment. We've got our cutscene starting and exiting gracefully. It'd be nice to try it in different locations. Maybe we could put an AI on in the R&D department. What if it's as easy as just adding our... no, because the AI is a character that only ever exists in one location. Could duplicate her, right? Duplicate. And then rename her to AI2 and then change her location to R&D. That would work. Let's try it. So into the lift, up to floor 2, out into the R&D lab. Here she is, AI2. So will that trigger the cutscene? Nope. Couldn't find a script for object interact AI2. Okay, yeah, so because it's a different character, we've only created a script for interact with AI. We've not created a script for this other character here, so technically it would work if they had the same name, which they don't. But that's good. Well, I am really stuck right now. I really need to have some sort of breakthrough on these yields, and I'm not sure how to troubleshoot it either. I'll put a breakpoint in and see if that helps. Thing is that the yields happens behind the scenes, so I don't think there's going to be much use. So that's our breakpoint triggered. So we're in the fade in white. So if I hit step over, it's going to fade in white, right? Step over. Okay. Okay, so that the breakpoint means that it's just going to keep, as I step over, I think it's going to update the screen. So that's the yield. Ah, look. So it's saying, well, you finished running that script now. What next? Nothing next. Wow. I never actually gone this deep with the debugger before. What's this doing? Oh, it's updating our message box. Oh, you can see it fading to white here. White. And it's updating our spectrum analyzer. So it's just the game is playing as normal. So if I hit continue, that's interesting. It hasn't paused yet. Maybe it's going to do a full loop before it pauses. Because it shouldn't run any of this stuff, right? We've just paused all these scripts. Of course, it doesn't finish pausing until that script's finished. Now we're back in. And our output, we've finished the color fade. Yeah, debugging is not helping us there. Why don't we set up this correctly? At least that way, if I need to show someone and ask for some help, it does what it's supposed to do. So we want to actually only trigger and emit a signal once the fade out's finished. So our fade out image needs to yield to our image animation player, triggering a signal of finished animation, I think it is. If we just look at all the animation player node signals. Yep, so it's animation underscore finished. The method yield isn't declared in the current class. Really? What are we in at the moment? Oh, canvas layer. Is that the problem? No, it can't be. Okay, so I think what we need to do here, we actually need to connect one of these sort of things. You can see that's connected at the moment to the animation player finished. So we need to set up a connect for the color animation player finished. So we, how do we do this again? Connect animation finished. Connect to script. So yeah, it's this script here. Connect. There we go. So let's just print. We finished the color animation. And if we hit play, we should at least see that, right? Oh, don't like it. Oh, it's the breakpoint. Carry on. Okay. Output. We finished the color animation, so that's working. Oh, we got both signals there. See? Super. So that works. Of course, the yield takes us back to, when it finishes, it comes back here. So what we're saying is, rather than having an emit signal here, fade in black, any sort of color-based signal would be emitted from here, right? So I can get rid of anything related to the color. It's image fade, that's different. Color fade. Cool. Does that make sense? So whether we're fading in white, fading in black, fading in a color, we've connected the color animation player to this function here. So when the animation finishes, we emit the signal. Super. So in our game script, didn't say that, did it? Wait, did that just work? Holy crap, I think it might have just worked. Put in the fade image. The image fades in after the fade to white. We've got it working. Oh! We fixed it. Obviously it's not, it'll only work once at the moment because we haven't got these initial state right, but fade to white, fade in the image. I mean, obviously we want to get the timing a little bit better, but that worked. Maybe it's because of the way we were connecting signals. Don't see how, but yeah, it works. Okay. So that means we can do the same thing with our image signal, right? So image animation player, want to create an animation finished, connect to our scene, to our script, image animation player, animation finished. And here, let's call it image fade. Finish the image animation. All right. And now we are one step closer. So these two go together, right? Which means these two can go together. Which means now, end of cutscene. So if the cutscene finishes without you having a click, you never skip it, then we want to end the cutscene, right? So cutscene will be end cutscene. So if we get there, go, cutscene dot end cutscene. Oops. It's end underscore cutscene. All right. So now we should fade in both and then end. Oh, yeah. Okay, so now let's do this gracefully. Obviously, before the end of the cutscene, we want to fade out the image. So we want to fade out. There's nothing there. Okay, and we also want to fade out the white, right? So I'll put another one of these in. So you can see how we're creating the tools we need. We can sync all these, we can set all these up, and we can set the order to it and decide what image will be loaded when and what narration will appear on the screen and so on. Oh dear. We got ourselves a little issue there. Is it the fade out image function? I don't like it when you get something like that and no error. Could it be? Why am I looking at the spectral script? Because I'm getting tired. That's what it is, right? Fade out image. Fade in image. Oh, yeah. We haven't done this yet. We're emitting the signal twice here, right? That's not good. It should only be emitted here. There we go. Let's try that again. Maybe that's why I was crashing before. I was just firing too many signals too quick. And what we hit a breakpoint. Fade out white. Non-existent function. Oh, it's just fade out, right? Color. Okay, I don't think we need to actually fade out white. I think we do that as part of the end scene anyway. Lovely. All right. So we've got a process now after an hour and a half. So next up, we want to implement things like sound and narration. So I think that's what's next. Let's update our little document. So system for full screen cutscenes. Did we do some stuff here yet? So add ability to show images. We have done. Background rectangle, fade to black, fade to white. We have now done. Background texture, fade in from current color. We have done. Rectangle, black cinematic bars, top and bottom. We have done. So fade out audio, fade in. We haven't done that. Pause the game. Yeah, we've got that done. Limit input except for the ability to skip. We've done that as well. Blimey, we've got quite far, haven't we? So the next things we need to do are the ability to show and text and audio, play sound effects, play background, play music, and that's where it's really going to come together. So I think we are going to check our code in here at this point. I'm not going to import these delete me images. We are implementing our cutscene. What have we changed in game? Oh, we added AI too, didn't we? Let's get rid of that. So I can just discard the change. And yeah, so updated cutscene, scene, and script can now create timed fade-ins, outs, start, and load images, etc. All right. Commit to master. Boom. And push. So on Thursday, the 23rd of April, we will be looking at, that's tomorrow, I think one of the most important next steps is playing narrative and showing the text. So we're going to record ourselves saying some daft stuff. Maybe we'll load up the first cutscene and do some really corny voice acting and just kind of set. We'll try and create. So let's just put a note here. Fade in our clip skip. Fade in our background image. Queue up narration. That's what we want to do. So today's Wednesday, so that'll be Thursday. And we want to queue up narration. We're going to recreate the tutorial initial cutscene. Yeah, that should be fun. So thanks for joining me for a marathon session. Thanks for everyone that came in. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe if you're interested in learning more and joining me along the way. It's good to have the support. And thanks again. Have a nice evening. I'm signing off.